Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recently, we had the Supreme Allied Commander here, and I asked him straight up, can we win in Ukraine? And he said, yes, without hesitation. Now, we have a lot of disagreement inside of our party. Matter of fact, even people sitting next to each other can disagree on how we handle Ukraine. But one thing we'd probably all agree is if we promise somebody something, that we should probably get them in a timely manner if we're going to have any chance at all. And one of the things I have a big problem with is we keep on saying we're going to give people stuff, but we slow roll it. The most assured way to extend this war is to make sure that they don't get the weapons in a timely manner, whether it be Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, or what we're doing in Ukraine right now. The only time we ever were able to be effective as the leading world power was surge ops. If we have a country with a $200 billion GDP going against a country with a $2 trillion GDP with a much larger and modern army, we can't expect them to actually hold out or do any good damage unless we supply them the things we promised them. It took us a long time to get them the tanks that we promised, the ammunition we promised, and other things we promised, not to mention Taiwan. They paid for stuff we still haven't given them. And then we had to do another package, but I don't know when that's going to get there. My concern is that we're not delivering the things we promised people in order to be effective in what our strategy is as global leaders. With that said, Secretary Austin, what are we doing to streamline that process to get the deliverables to those people who need it as strategic allies?
Well, certainly we are working hard to ensure that we rapidly deliver security assistance to Ukraine, and I want to thank the Congress for your support of the supplemental. It took us a while to get that across the goal line, but that you can't provide the security assistance without the resources. If you look at Israel, we moved heaven and earth to get capability.
I want to be very specific because we're time limited. What are we doing specifically to get the weapons to Taiwan and Ukraine that we've been slow rolling so far?
Well, you may have heard me say earlier in terms of the FMS backlog for Taiwan, that early on I set up a Tiger team to look at this and work through these issues, work through the obstacles, and they've been doing that. They've identified some ways to speed some things up, but it's a complex process, and it involves a lot of inputs. Industry is a big player in this, and as much as we may want it, unless industry can produce it in a timely fashion, you can't get it. So, and I know that's all obvious to you, but we will remain focused on this, and it's important to all of us that we get Taiwan what it's asked for and what it's paid for, so that they can defend themselves.
Okay, I've heard you talking about Israel, and I've heard you talk about Taiwan, specifically in Ukraine. You're talking about a country who right now is losing grounds, who's being outshelled 10-1. We've seen this coming. It's not like it's a surprise. Like we haven't been at war now for a couple of years. And what concerns me is we have a combined European and United States GDP of about $47 trillion. We're going against a country that has a GDP of $2 trillion, and yet we're getting outgunned 10-1. I find that extremely alarming to me if we're going to be good stewards of the assets we have, that we cannot deliver what it takes to win a conflict that we say that we're committed to. Whether we agree on that or not, the worst possible scenario is happening right now. 2 years. 2 years, we've seen this coming. We've committed to, we voted unanimously in NATO to support this country. Whether we like it or not, as a divided Congress, we committed to it, we funded it, and yet we don't do our job to deliver quickly. We need to be aggressive. It can't be platitudes where we're reviewing, blah, blah, blah. It's hard. We need feedback on what we can do to radically change this process to deliver what we need to in order to win this conflict, or else this country will be forever changed and we'll lose a top 5 country in resources who produces 70% of the European grain in a time where we're going to have double the need for food around the world in the next 25 years. You have the food poor, and you have the food poor nations of Iran.
It's quite remarkable that a country that has the capability that Ukraine had at the beginning of this fight, facing the most powerful military in Europe, has been able to fight and hold off the Russians for 2 years. The only way that they can do that is with our help and the help of allies and partners.
I hope we can streamline that process, because I'm very worried right now we're losing ground because we haven't done our part. Thank you. With that, I yield.